My name's John Pipal and I'm 66 years old. Common Knowledge is a network of freelancers and small organisations that help the voluntary sector or provide services to the voluntary sector. And as a network, we provide hot desks where people can work from, but also there are a lot of members of Common Knowledge that don't use the office, but we get together for meetings, parties, dinners. It's a network that allows us to be bigger than just a single person. We can collaborate. We can make joint proposals for projects, that kind of thing. In this office, in Common Knowledge, we do have younger members. We do have a significant cohort of younger members. So, but we do have most of the people who started Common Knowledge off are my age, or certainly over 50. My first proper job after university was working for an organisation called the Young Volunteer Force in 1971. I was a community organiser, and we set up various community projects and young people using a bit like intergenerational projects that nowadays, but the idea being where young people could go and do something in the community. They might paint an old person's house, or help run a play scheme, or go and visit a local mental health institution, something like that, put on a show. And so that was the idea. I enjoyed my first job some of the time, I think. I didn't, when you're very young, you have a lot of things on your mind which, in retrospect, as you get older, you think, why did I worry about that so much? I should have just, but at the time you worry just like you do at all ages, but when you're young, you worry about being successful and things like that. And I think probably I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have done, my first job, but I did enjoy large parts of it, yeah. I try not to worry too much about things. Most of the things I do worry about are work related, and I'm trying to cut down on the amount of work I do now that I'm over 60, because I don't want to keep working forever and ever, but at the same time I've got to keep working because my pension's not going to be very big. So to give me a little bit of pocket money, a little bit of spending money, I'm going to need to keep my hand in. And being freelance, that's easier to do than if you're working for a single employer. I provide IT services in the voluntary sector. I look after networks, I set up computer systems, I develop databases, I run projects with other colleagues, some of them in Common Knowledge, things like websites that use databases, or modern systems really for voluntary organisations to become more effective. I like modern technology, and I embraced it when I was about 35. In the beginning of the 80s, they started to develop personal computers, and I was pretty much a part of that development as far as a user concerned. And I've been in work related to IT since 1984. So that's 30 years. So I find that new technology poses no threats to me. There's always something new, but actually you can always get ahead of the crowd just by taking 6 weeks out and going where the new stuff is, and then you've got something to offer the market, because everybody is playing catch up. Everybody. My current job, I've been in for about 15 years as a freelance. Before that, I was an employee. I think the clients, I think the clients that I have are the most rewarding part of my job. I've got some lovely clients. They pay on time. They do really important and interesting things, and I kind of feel that by helping them run their offices, run their systems, I'm contributing to the effort that they're making. I am not active on social media. I don't know why. Well, I suppose because I'm a pretty antisocial sort of person, really. That's the reason. I'm not active on Twitter. I'm not and I suppose that's one area where I should get better. But you'd have to ignore some things. I mean, I find email and all the other forms of communication that I have enough. In a sense, I resent handing more of my attention to another kind of way of communicating. I wouldn't have any time left. I think it's more. I think the changes in the labour market over the last 10 years or more, 20 years, has been the decrease in the power and influence of the trades unions, and going with that the slow impoverishment of working conditions for most people. That's to say things like 0-hour contracts, being paid the minimum wage or less, people who are expected to work for nothing in order to get a job. I think generally, for most people, job security has gone down, and it's partly because the trades union movement has lost. It's lost a generation. There's a generation that have grown up. It doesn't even cross their mind to join a trades union. They look at you like when you suggest it to them that you're, why would I want to do that? In the last 3 years, I've been down to 4 days a week. In the last 3 years, 4 days a week I do now. I look after my grandchildren on a Thursday, next year I'm going down to 3 days a week. But it didn't affect me in being. I mean, generally speaking, I seem to be busy now as I've ever been. There's no diminution in the amount of work, and in some ways I'm better than I used to be. I'm more efficient in a real way, in the sense that the way I tackle work, I spend less time wasting time. Not that I don't waste time, everybody wastes time, but less time wasting time. It does exist, the business of people being discriminated against because of their age. Personally, and in the kind of when clients come to me, they want me, so they get me. I don't tell them how old I am, and sometimes I keep it quiet, just because I figure they might think, oh, he's going to retire soon, we better not employ him. But on the whole, I haven't had too much of that. There are people that, I know that it exists though, and there are, and friends of mine have been discriminated against because of their age, or sometimes the worry about being discriminated against means that they don't go after things they might otherwise go after. So it's like a lot of these things, it may not be as bad as people think it is, but the very fact that they think it is makes it worse. I'm not sure I'll ever retire completely, or if I do, it'll be illness or something like that. I'd like to get down to, let's say, 1 day a week within the next 5 years. I do have hobbies that I've taken up in the last decade. I've taken up drawing in classes, portraits, life drawing. I've taken up what was it? There's something else I've taken up. What is it? I do a lot of walking, but I've always done quite a lot of walking. But we've started a little walking group in the last 10 years, which is nice. I've always cycled quite a lot, and I still do as my main form of getting around. Although longer journeys, I tend to use my freedom pass quite a bit. But yeah, no, I think there's, with grandchildren and just like the business of life anyway, and then these other interests, I think both the art and the walking, I'd like to develop both of those more if I had more time.